So last week we talked about the Licensing for Retail Day Expo that was happening in London, and there wasn't much information that got out publicly. A lot of it was closed door discussions, but one piece that got out through different kinds of licensors, retailers, and more importantly, investors and stockbrokers. This is a big one. It seems that Hasbro and Mattel are going to be doing some co-development and multi-year licensing agreements with all of their brands, be it toys or games. And they did a little press release. They talked about how they're going to be doing a lot of stuff in relation with Barbie and Transformers, specifically with the Barbie movie that's going to be coming out this summer. There's going to be a Barbie branded Monopoly game, which is a Hasbro brand. And there's going to be a Transformers branded Uno card game, which is a Mattel thing. So there's that's going on. But the big announcement here also was there's a big plan to do a Transformers branded Hot Wheels vehicle line set to debut in early 2024 next year. So that's a big one too. And I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, man, that's going to be a monster in itself. So, you know, they pretty much got some public announcements here, again talking about how this development is primarily due to those two companies working together to strengthen the toy aisle in a world where the toy aisle might be kind of waning a little bit. Both of these companies have big movies that are coming out this summer in 2023, Rise of the Beast with Transformers in June and the Barbie movie in July. So that's another big one too for them. So them working together could really work something out. There were some announcements here from their different, vice presidents and stuff. We are excited to see some pairs of the most popular brands together for the first time, says Nick, the senior vice president of the entertainment partnerships at Mattel. This collaboration features world-class IPs, celebrating timeless appeal of these brands and creating unique play opportunities. Typical corporate talk, yada, yada, yada. But again, the big takeaway for us more than anything, let's start first with, let's say, the mention here of this Hot Wheels thing. So the last time that we really had die-cast with Transformers made directly by Hasbro, not licensed out, which we'll get into in a moment, was we had the RPM line, which later evolved into the Transformers Speedstar line. And that went between 2009 to 2011. That was like Hasbro's reaction to the success that Mattel had with their Cars line. Mattel had a line called Cars based off of the Pixar movie. It debuted in late 2006 and then kind of exploded over the past couple of years after that. And it was pretty much Hasbro going like, you know what? We got a brand of sentient cars. You know, they have sentient cars. We got sentient cars. Why don't we do a die-cast line and see if we get some success with that? And while the Speedstars and the RPMs line only lasted a couple of years, 2009, 2011, the Cars die-cast line is still existent to this day for Mattel, and they find a lot of money and success with that. There was over 100 die-cast cars, though, with RPM, so, you know, it did last enough for them to make some money. Since the end of the RPM and Speedstars line for Hasbro, they've been licensing out the Transformers IP to different die-cast companies, Jada Toys being the one that a lot of us are familiar with today. Even the Micro Machines license itself, which is owned by Hasbro, along with Transformers, is licensed to Wicked Cool Toys to do their Micro Machine Transformer stuff that we've seen. So, you know, there still is die-cast Transformers out there right now on shelves, but those are being licensed out to other companies, and Hasbro just kind of, you know, putting it aside. So having the monster that is Hot Wheels with Mattel, and, you know, Mattel also having that equal success with the Cars line right now still on shelves, no doubt it'll be a big splash with Transformers. No doubt it'll be quite successful. And I mean, my only fear is, Hot Wheels have those treasure hunt chase cars. So I'm kind of worried that if they involve that with Transformers, it's going to be a nightmare for us collectors, because I'll never forget going to Toys R Us's very early in the morning and having all those middle-aged Hot Wheels collectors literally lining up outside of the Toys R Us at 7 a.m. to crack open the cases and get those treasure hunt chase cars for Hot Wheels. So hopefully they don't do that. Kind of hope how they handle it like they do with the Mario brand and some of the others, where it's just, hey, here's the characters, and hopefully it'll be pretty decent. Maybe they'll do some Generation 1, maybe they'll do some current stuff. I'm very curious how they'll go about it, but it's Hot Wheels, it's Mattel. that's their wheelhouse. Diecast is their thing. No one does it better, so I'm very curious to see what they do with it. But again, the collaboration stuff doesn't just go with Hot Wheels. They mentioned that they're going to be doing, Mattel is going to be doing a Barbie kind of Monopoly thing. So that's going to be done through Hasbro, and then we're going to have the Uno Transformer cards through Mattel. But there's so much other stuff that could go on here. So like, just to give people an idea, so within the brands that Mattel owns directly, like this is what they own. They own Barbie, they own Hot Wheels, they own Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, so Thomas the Train stuff. So that could be very interesting from a crossover standpoint if they want to do that, because I've seen in the past that they've done tons of different crossovers with Bandai. They've done crossovers with other companies. With Thomas the Tank Engine, they did DC Thomas. They did Power Ranger Thomas. So why not some Transformer Thomas? Officially, not the Thomas the Tank Engine Transformer Combiner. That's the fancy bootleg. I mean, I'd love to see some official Transformer Thomas stuff. That'd be pretty hype. And Hasbro will be able to do that directly because that's something that Mattel owns 100%. We have Tyco RC. So all kinds of remote control stuff could be done proper instead of it just being licensed out. That'd be pretty cool. The Mega brand itself that's owned by Mattel. Mega brand being Mega Bloks. Now Hasbro doesn't have to just rely on the Creo thing that's been dead for quite a few years now. You could do Mega Bloks branded Transformer stuff. Now, granted, there has been a Lego Transformer already, and maybe they're going to continue that relationship more so with Lego, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Lego collectors would probably prefer that. But you never know. Maybe they could work something with Mega Bloks and do more play sets with that. Obviously, there's also licensed out stuff. Like Mattel licenses out WWE, the wrestling stuff, Toy Story. They license out, obviously, cars themselves from Pixar, Jurassic Park. I could go on and on. But it's not rare that Mattel has taken stuff that they license out and then do collaborations with other companies. Mattel licensed out WWE, and then they did a collaboration with Playmates to do the WWE Mattel Playmates Ninja Turtle line, where it was WWE Ninja Turtles. So it's not out of the question. It's kind of crazy, but it is something that is possible if they want to do something like that. And of course, the success of that WWE Ninja Turtles line led to Mattel then going, hey man, we could just do this with our own IPs instead of licensing out. And then they did the WWE Masters of the Universe crossover. So, I mean, the ideas are endless. And when I mean endless, let's look at some of the more dead IPs that still is owned by Mattel. Let's talk about the Muscle brand. Granted, yes, it doesn't have the Kaneko Man trademark attached with it. They just own the name of Muscle. But there's stuff that could be done with that. They've been licensing it out with Super 7 in the past. There's Brave Star, Incredible Crash Test Dummies, that's owned by them. Street Sharks, my boy Street Sharks, that's owned by them. They've licensed that out in the past. Dino Riders, Mighty Max, Max Steel, Shogun Warriors. Again, they only own the name. They don't own the stuff within Shogun Warriors because that's all, super robot stuff, Godzilla. But still they could use the Shogun Warriors branding and use that for stuff. They've licensed it out again also with Super 7. Jason the Wheeled Warriors. I mean, there's a lot of crossover 80s appeal right there of stuff that they own that they haven't done in years that they could do with Hasbro. So there's a lot. It's very interesting what they got here. There's a lot of ideas that could be percolating. I mean, right away, again, just the Thomas stuff alone, I could see there being potential, the Hot Wheels stuff, the Tyco RC, the Mega Bloks. But, I mean, the fact that they're going to be collaborating, and it's an initiative to kind of keep the toy aisles alive and keeping, the old school fans and creating new ones in the process, this is going to be very interesting. This is the combining of two big powerhouses, the number one in toys in Hasbro and the number two in toys, at least in the West, in Mattel, really putting something together and kicking some serious butt. I'm very curious to see where it goes with this. There's a lot of brands here that could be a lot of fun. Of course, I left out He-Man is another one too that they could do stuff with. I mean, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to say the least of what's going to be done here. Let me know what you think. What would you like to see? I mean, I must have left out something here, but just between the Hot Wheels Transformers and what could potentially come from that and all the money. I mean, the Hot Wheels aisle makes a big part of any Walmart or Target display. Add a little Transformers to that section too. It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be pretty cool. Tell me what you think. This is pretty interesting stuff. I hope you learned something today, and thanks for listening to the Transformer Slag podcast.